Tim Legler, ESPN NBA analyst, kind enough to join us from Milwaukee. Tim, where does Giannis's performance last night and in this series rank to you all time?
The performance itself last night is one of the greatest I've ever seen. And I don't care, if we're putting in the context, Dan, of NBA playoffs, NBA finals. I don't care, period. Just in terms of any player in any game. I think about how many athletes get the rare opportunity to play the greatest game of their lives in the most significant moment of their careers. That's what he put together last night. Very few guys can say those two things in the same sentence, right? A lot of guys can get to the promised land and win a championship, and it might not be their best night. A lot of guys have incredible games in the course of the regular season in their careers, but it's not in this moment. Biggest stage, brightest lights, and he had the greatest game of his career. It was one of the most awesome displays I've ever seen, combining force with finesse, because this is a guy that obviously struggles at the line to do that from the foul line. Had a step back 18-footer in there, had a 3-pointer in there, had a push shot, like a one-handed push shot from the foul line at a critical time in the game, combined with all of that power at the rim and just overwhelming the Suns. It was just an absolutely awesome display. It's almost hard to describe accurately how great he played last night.
I actually think he's underrated, Tim, because we kept looking at what he didn't do instead of what he does do. And, okay, he didn't make his free throws, but he did make his free throws last night. I don't like him handling the ball, bringing it up the floor. I don't like him taking jumpers. I wanted him down on the low post because he was unstoppable there. Boy, this is certainly a message to the rest of the NBA. God forbid if he does hit all of his free throws and he does develop some kind of outside shot. That's scary. That's a scary, scary proposition for this. And he does want to get greater, as you know, playing in the league. Certain guys get to a certain level and they're fine with that. It doesn't feel like at age 26 he's going to go, you know what? This is the kind of player who I am. It just doesn't seem like that's in his DNA.
Completely agree, and he's the kind of star player. I was thinking about it. I played with a lot of stars over the course of my career, Hall of Fame players, and this is the kind of guy as a star player that you want to play with as a teammate, because there's going to be zero complacency, and that's what you love about him, which is what you're describing. And I think a way to sum it up with him, he doesn't want a great moment. This is a great moment. He doesn't want a great moment. He wants all-time greatness, and that's going to differentiate him. And so it's impossible not to root for this guy. It just is. He's everything you could want an athlete to be. The way he goes about his business, the kind of person he is, the kind of guy he is to be around every day, upbeat, positive, energetic, hardest worker on the team, so he sets the tone there. Constantly giving praise to those around him, despite the fact that last night he literally lifted an entire team and franchise and city on his back. I mean, if you want to talk about a guy putting something on their back, we use that phrase all the time. Last night, that should be what you see if you look that term up and you Google that. Is Giannis Antetokounmpo last night? Because he had very little help offensively from his star players. Bobby Portis was great. Without Bobby Portis last night, they don't win the game. Yeah. But the other guys, Middleton was decent late. He had a couple of big moments late in the game. But for the most part, Holiday and Middleton were not good. He scores half their points practically. So he's everything you could want in a star player in the face of a franchise. He epitomizes, I think, what it should be about, to feel the weight and responsibility to do this for a franchise that drafted you if you reach this level of greatness. And that's what he took on when he signed that contract and decided to stay. And I think it's phenomenal for the league that a guy can prove you can do it this way too. It's a different script than what these guys follow now.
Yeah, I think the key now is, will free agents want to go to Milwaukee? They did make the trade for Jrue Holiday. They gave up a lot of draft picks for him. Feels like a young nucleus is there. I also wondered about this, Tim, and maybe I'm seeing something different. I thought that the series felt like it was shifting when Jrue Holiday started to pick up Chris Paul three-quarters court. It changed the tempo, made Paul work a little bit harder. And to me, I know we can talk about the Greek freak with the block or the alley-oop, But that was a real subtle move by the Bucks, Mike Budenholzer, that I thought changed Chris Paul a little bit and changed the Phoenix Suns offensively. Am I reading into it too much?
No, you're dead spot on. And after the first game, and not even after the first game, about middle of the second quarter of the first game, I'm taking notes, getting ready to go on after, and I'm saying this has to be the worst defensive game plan I've seen a team come up with to defend pick and roll in a long time. You had 3 days, 4 days, whatever it was, the Suns to prepare for the Bucks to prepare for the Suns. You have one of the best mid-range players in the history of the game in Chris Paul, and you're going to decide that you want to either switch all ball screens or put your big guy defending the screen 15 feet off the screen so he can come off unimpeded, get to an 18-foot area of the floor for a lean-back jump shot, which is his bread and butter play, and you let him have it the entire game. Yeah. And after the game, everybody was in on that, obviously, and they're just pounding the Bucks and pounding their preparation. It made no sense. Give them credit. They made the adjustment, and they said if Jrue Holiday's on the floor, he is going to target Chris Paul. And so not only picking him up 85 feet, Dan, every time Chris Paul brought it up after either made basket or a dead ball and Chris Paul's bringing it up, it was Holiday 75% of the time. P.J. Tucker was doing it. Jeff Teague would come in and even do it a little bit. And these guys were turning him, bumping him, just draining his power meter. That's what it did, and it took away his aggressiveness in the half court. But the other thing they did, in addition to picking him up, when Jrue Holiday was getting screened starting in Game 2, he wasn't handing him off to whoever came up on that screen. He was continuing to pursue Chris Paul. And eventually, with just enough help so he couldn't get off a mid-range jump shot from your big, when he would pick the ball up, Jrue Holiday then was back on his shoulder, making sure he wasn't going to be a factor later in the possession. So not only the wear and tear of all those possessions of turning a guy and bumping him, and a 36-year-old guard facing full court pressure, which we don't see in the NBA ever nowadays, to do that, but also to say, Jrue, you're going to blanket this guy. It's like a cover corner, right? And I remember I'm a Washington football team fan, and we brought in Josh Norman a few years ago, and I was so excited because we needed a cover corner. And then the very first game, I'm at the game, and the star wide receiver for the other team, goes in motion, and Josh Norman doesn't move from his side of the field. And I proceeded to watch this guy torch the other corner for a huge day. I'm going, what's the point of having Josh Norman if he's not going to cover this guy the entire time? That's what Jrue Holiday became starting in Game 2. It was Chris Paul is going to be targeted. I am the guy to do it. And that, to me, that subtle change completely changed the complexion of this series. And Chris Paul, until last night, basically was a non-factor offensively.
If every NBA player were healthy during the postseason, who would have won the championship?
Brooklyn.
Okay.
Brooklyn. I just don't know how anybody was supposed to deal with that level of firepower. To me, that collection of Durant, Harden, and Kyrie Irving, that is the single greatest trio of raw offensive talent ever assembled in this league. I do not know how you were supposed to have the personnel, the depth, the scheme to be able to defend all that. You're talking about three guys that can beat you on every platform offensively. They can beat you. They can make plays off the dribble. They can beat you from deep on a ball screen. They can beat you with the mid-range. They're all great finishers. What are you supposed to do with that much talent? And you can always have, Steve Nash can always have two of the elite offensive players in the game on the court at the same time and start and finish every half with all three of those guys. It's just too much for anybody to deal with. So it was going to be the Nets that were going to win this. And look, it is a narrative, Dan. We're not taking anything away from the Bucks, but you can't dismiss the fact that the Nets broke down, the Lakers broke down, the Clippers broke down. Even a team like Denver, with a healthy Jamal Murray after they picked up Aaron Gordon, that's a team that legitimately could have made it to the NBA Finals. So you can't dismiss all of the injuries, but give the Bucks credit. They took advantage of what the landscape looked like this year, and they broke through, and the confidence they have going forward could mean this is the start of a great run, because we don't know if the Nets are going to stay healthy next year. Those guys barely have played together. They have a lot to prove. And the Milwaukee Bucks are going to carry themselves like champions now. They believe they can get through any pressure situation based on the way they navigated this postseason.
What should the Suns do with Chris Paul, and what should Chris Paul do with the Suns?
Well, he's got a player option for $44 million, so I know he's not going anywhere. That's going to be. I mean, he probably signed that in the locker room last night if he's smart to make sure he gets that $44 million. So he's not going anywhere. I think what they have to be honest about. Look at their team. Just like we talked about the Bucks just now, the same thing with the Suns. Look at the landscape in the West with the Kawhi going down, Anthony Davis going down, Jamal Murray going down. This was the perfect storm for the Suns to make this kind of run this year. But they're a guy away. They need an all-star caliber wing with some length that can get his own shot, because you're not gonna get through the Western Conference next year if those teams stay healthy with what you have. So Chris Paul has a significant role on this team. I do believe that. But they can't go forward thinking, oh, we've got these two great guards, and that's going to be enough because we went to the finals last year, assuming that, okay, Ayton gets a little bit better, Bridges gets a little bit better, Cam Johnson gets a little bit better. The problem is the ceiling on those three players is significantly lower than what we're talking about with these other teams and their second and third best players. It just is. Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are really nice players. They're never going to have the kind of handle that you're going to need to be a 20 to 25 point scorer in this league on the wing. You're just not. And those are the players that lead teams to championships. So they're a guy away, but Chris Paul will have a significant role on that team, and certainly he's going to be untradeable if they decided to go in a different route and thinking, yeah, this could be a guy to get somebody else over the hump. At $44 million, I don't know how you do that.
Who should trade for Damian Lillard?
I'd love to see Damian Lillard in Philadelphia. If you pair Damian Lillard with Joel Embiid and the shooting that they have there with Seth Curry, that to me is the team then that can get into the mix in the East and truly challenge. Now, there's a lot of talk about that. Obviously, that would include Ben Simmons leaving town, which I think everybody in Philadelphia is ready for and they want to see happen. He's an elite level athlete and talent, but he is missing a gene that you need, and his fear of failure was so evident last year in the playoffs. I don't know how you go forward with Ben Simmons. Certain markets, Dan, are never going to forget and forgive, and it's unrelenting, and he's in one of those markets. I've spent 37 years living there. He's in one of those markets, which is another point actually about Antetokounmpo. I was thinking about today how blessed and lucky he is to be in a place that has shown him unconditional love, forgiveness, and support, despite the fact that he was a two-time MVP with the number one seed in the league and didn't make it to the finals. If he is in a Northeast corridor city, there's a very good chance the media coverage, the fan base coverage, what he's hearing every day turns so negative and sour. If you feel like you have not lived up to expectations in a given year, he probably doesn't make the same decision he made to stay. The fact that he's in that type of situation allowed him to feel the love, even though they came up short, and he was doing everything he could to get him there. That was a big factor in this. I think that's going to also be the situation with Ben Simmons and why he's going to have to leave. The first sign of him turning down a shot near the rim next season, whether it's game 1, game 2, they're going to start and they're never going to stop until he's out. So I think they have to make a move. If they can do something with Portland and give enough Ben Simmons picks and maybe throw in a Tyrese Maxey or somebody like that, maybe that's enough to get Lillard. And Lillard and Embiid, that would be a very phenomenal combination to watch.
It was fun. Legs, thanks for your contributions to the show, not only today but throughout the season. We appreciate it as always.
Always love coming on, Dan. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Legs. That's Tim Legler, ESPN NBA analyst, former NBA vet.